Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the era. My name is Brian Gregoire, and today we're going to talk about the possibility that exists right now of Stanford joining the ACC. I sat by the pool yesterday for a couple hours and pondered all the reasons why Stanford should not join the ACC, and I wrote them all down on this list right here, and I'm just going to do you all the courtesy of going through that list. The first reason why Stanford should not join the ACC, just think about it. Contemplate for a second. What does ACC stand for? Atlantic Coast Conference. What coast is Stanford University on? The Pacific Coast. What sense does it make for a team on the Pacific Coast to join the Atlantic Coast Conference? That is just a warped, backwards concept to me, and I really don't resonate with that. I want to go through and backtrace all of the recent moves that have happened, highlight those. Now, think about it. Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten. I know there is some opposition to those moves for geographical and logistical reasons. But if you really think about it, Iowa is right smack dab in the middle of the country, even a little bit further west. Minnesota's a little bit to the further west of the country. Wisconsin's right in the middle of the country. Michigan's in the middle of the country. It's not terribly far to get to Oregon or Washington from those places. And Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State in the Big 12. Colorado's in decent proximity to all the Texas schools. A lot of people in Texas vacation in Colorado. Same in Utah. Arizona's not far from a lot of spots in Texas and Oklahoma State. It's decent proximity. It makes sense. And even UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. Again, Pacific Coast. They're not terribly far from those schools in the middle of the country. Now, again, UCLA to Rutgers, that's a hike. But UCLA to Nebraska, not terrible. Not ideal, but not terrible. It's manageable from a logistical standpoint. Stanford joining the ACC, their closest opponents is probably Wake Forest or Florida State. That is a hike. That's across the entire nation. Again, it's the Atlantic coast from the Pacific coast. That's just unbelievable. And not even mentioning trying to fathom the matchups that would take place. Stanford against North Carolina State. Stanford against Virginia Tech. I really can't conceptualize that myself. I that's not something that me and I think 85% of the college football fan base can embrace. It's just a very strange concept in essence, and I really do oppose it for that reason. You really think about it too, it's a lateral move. Stanford going to the ACC essentially is a lateral move. You're going from one conference that's not only struggling, but has pretty much waved the white flag when it comes to media rights deals, TV deals, to another conference that has a less than desirable subpar TV deal itself. The ACC's deal is really wonky. It runs through 2036. It's a very long time. The market can fluctuate and change a lot in that time period. A lot of adjustments can be made in the next 13 years, and schools are not compensated evenly for the amount of value that they deliver. Think about it, Stanford will deliver a lot of value to that conference. They have one of the best athletic departments in the nation, and as a school, they're one of the wealthiest universities in the nation, and they will not be compensated like it. So for that reason, it does not make sense either. You got Clemson and Florida State making way less money than they should through that TV deal for the amount of value that they deliver to the Atlantic Coast Conference overall, and Stanford would be a university to join that club of undercompensated universities if they were to accept that deal, which I'm really advocating in this video for them not to. I've thought about it. I'm always a guy that's more about the solution than the problem. I really laid out the problem right there. Lateral move doesn't make much geographical or logistical sense. Before I delve into that, there's one more thing I want to mention with the logistics. So the way it operates when teams travel, whether it's football or basketball or baseball, the team travels, but then equipment goes with them as well. And in a lot of cases, equipment is transported via box truck. imagine a box truck traveling from Palo Alto, California to Charlottesville, Virginia. That's like a 26-hour drive. And you're going to put like interns or entry-level employees up to that? I don't think so. That is just absolutely arduous, if you ask that to me. And if you were to fly that equipment potentially from Palo Alto to Durham, North Carolina, that's quite the expensive flight. And you have to do that 6 weeks of the year with football. Those prices, even for a university that generates a lot of revenue like Stanford, it's a lot of money. My solution to this, outline all those problems, my solution: Stanford should just go independent. There's a couple schools in the FBS that fall into the same category as Stanford. I'd say there's 5 or 6. You've got Notre Dame, Stanford, Cal, Northwestern, Army, Navy. 6 that fall into the category of schools that operate very uniquely. All 6 of those are schools that prioritize academics over everything. It's academics first, and academics is what fuels everything else. You have schools out there like Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Florida. The athletics are what draw people in. And then from those athletics, you can then assemble illustrious academic programs. Cal Berkeley, Stanford, Notre Dame, Northwestern, they're about assembling those lofty academic programs initially and then enabling athletic programs to follow, because they're then funded by all of the students that they draw through those prestigious academic programs. Those schools operate very differently than the other 126 schools in the FBS. And for what reason? They shouldn't belong to conferences, because they're just uniquely themselves. Stanford is its own identity. It's Stanford University. Look at the alumni base. Look at the students that come out there. Look at what they contribute. The academic prestige and rigor that's involved at a Stanford or a Cal Berkeley or a Notre Dame or a Northwestern. I have so much respect for the academic rigor that those students go through. And because of how those schools are structured from that academic standpoint, they operate so much differently than the other 126 schools in the FBS. Those schools are independent from all the others because of their identity. Therefore, they should be independent from a conference standpoint as well. Lastly, I was reading articles yesterday, and I was seeing that Stanford was actually entertaining entering the ACC for a discounted fee, and even for free for the first several years. We're talking Stanford University here. We got to have some standards. Statistically, and from a revenue standpoint, it is one of the most successful athletic programs in America. You should not be not only agreeing but entertaining the notion of joining a conference for a discounted fee, let alone free for the first several years. You're Stanford. Have standards. You deserve to be compensated like Stanford. Don't join a conference just to join a conference. Join a conference because it makes sense. Geographically, from an identity standpoint, from a financial standpoint. And this is to all the schools out there. Don't just join a conference just to join a conference. Join a conference because it makes sense from a fit standpoint. All the others so far, honestly, have made sense from a fit standpoint. Oregon, Washington to the Big Ten. Utah, Colorado, Arizona State to the Big 12. Made sense. Generally, it made sense. Stanford joining the ACC makes no sense. And it's a move that, if it's made, the domino effect will ensue of all these other moves that just don't make sense from a geographical or fit standpoint. Because it's just wonky. A Pacific Coast college joining an Atlantic Coast conference makes no sense at all. But then if that happens, realignment will just be in an upheaval. And there will be just no rules to anything anymore, no standards to any of these moves that are made, because all of them so far have made sense. Stanford to the ACC does not make any sense, and if it happens, I think, right now, I'm an expansionist at heart, and I truly believe that the moves that have been made are going to benefit college sports. Stanford, the ACC, won't, and it's a bad example for other schools in the FBS and FCS to follow, and I hope it doesn't happen because it could have a dangerous domino effect. So in general, Stanford should not join the ACC. I fervently believe that, and they really should explore going independent. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video, and if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.